So this is the thickness for the shell. I can actually go ahead and maybe kind of fix some stuff here. It's like some of those vertices look kind of strange. We could just eventually, just shape it a little bit. But at this point, we don't even really need to. The only reason we would do that is if this was seen, all the way. But now these are just hidden, so we only need to indicate the mesh thickness. So that should be fine. So I'm gonna go ahead and Control Shift H to go back. So now you can see that we have shell with all this wood that we built, and then we have the interior, which is a wall space. Now, one of the things that I don't like is the fact that these are actually touching here, and maybe what we could do is if we bevel them, they might look a little bit better. So I'm gonna select I'm gonna look at all these pieces. I'm gonna get rid of these edges. We don't need these, so I'm gonna Control Delete. So we want to do the same thing for these guys. But before we do that, let's check out if these three have any have any faces in between the connections. So I'm just gonna go ahead and look at that for a second. I think we eliminated that problem before. Okay, so now I'm gonna turn off the X-ray and double click on this edge loop, Control Delete. Double click on this edge loop, Control Delete. Do the same for this. Edge mode, Control Delete. Control Delete. So you select the mesh, go to edge, double click on the edge. That make sure that we select the whole loop, Control Delete. Control Delete. Okay. Now I'm gonna go back, Control Shift H, and let's deal with these for a second. These were not connected because we started wrong. So I'm gonna select all these guys. Let's go and fix that. Alt H. So what we need to do is like select these here and mesh, combine. Now I'm gonna go select the faces and see if we have in between faces here. So delete those faces. So now the mesh is clean. Now we're gonna merge it. Select the whole thing and merge vertices. And now select the edges and Control Delete. So that kind of cleans up unnecessary geometry. The same here, select these three, combine, go to the face, select the faces here, delete, select the faces here, delete, select the whole thing, merge, edge, double click, Control Delete. Same here. Select these three, combine, mesh first. Now we have these faces. In between faces, we don't like that kind of, these faces that are like in between, they need to be deleted because they break the continuity of the mesh. So face, select those faces, delete, select those two faces, delete, object. Now these were combined, but not necessarily, you see here, they're open. So you need to select the whole piece and go merge. That's what I've been doing. So it merges all the components together. And then I just need to get rid of this edge loop, these two edge loops. Turn off the X-ray, Alt, Control Shift H. So we're good, it's clean. Now we need to clean up this guy. So edge, double click, and this here needs to Alt H to isolate, combine, turn on the X-ray, go to faces, delete the faces in between. Okay, back to object mode, select it, merge, edge, double click, control delete. Okay, now I think we're ready to add some detail here. So one more. So up here. Let's get these edges and control delete. Okay, so now let's select all these wooden pieces. Actually, this is let's call it shell. So let's select everything else. So let's move the shell all the way down to the outliner. So I'm moving it with the middle mouse button, holding down the middle mouse button. I'm moving it all the way to the end. So I'm going to select all these poly surfaces, and I haven't selected. Yeah, there's more here. So there's a lot. So let's see, not this one. I think from here all the way down here, we have all the shell. So Alt H. Let's organize it too, since we're here now, since we're selecting it. So all these groups, we can edit and ungroup. Okay, now let's see if we have more groups. Now anything that you see that there's a node, just delete it. A node that has nothing in it, there's no hierarchy, just delete that. Okay, so now I'm going to select all of these. See that they're kind of, let's see what these are. These are just empty nodes. I'm going to delete them. If you see something like that, that's no good. You select the whole thing, delete the history, and it should get rid of all these empty nodes. Now I'm going to select, and now group them. Now this will organize them and put them down here at the end. So I grouped everything in it. So I'm going to call this wood panels, and center the pivot point. Now I selected all of them, so I'm going to go inside the group, and I'm going to select each one of them from here inside the group, not the group itself. So I'm going to go ahead and bevel these guys. I'm going to go closer to this area, and I'm going to bevel them. Now one other thing that I could do, I could move these forward actually just a little bit, because it seems that they're kind of touching, but that's not of a big deal, but you could eventually fix that. You can go to the top view just so you can see how you can fix it. You can select these guys, and I could temporarily combine them to the pivot, and I'm going to go to the top view, move them a little bit forward, and also I can select these vertices on this side and move them so they can cover these guys over here. Something like that. The same here. I can select these vertices from this side and kind of cover some of these. So this is just, it doesn't matter if the geometry is overlapping a little bit. That should be fine. So now I'm going to separate it because I want to go back. So separate, and again we're having select everything, delete the history, center the pivot points. They should be in here, all of them. Select everything, and they're not. See, because I did a separation, and so we have another group now. So what I'm going to do is ungroup this, edit, ungroup, and edit, and I can select all these guys that are outside of the panels group, close the wood panel group, and move them in there. So everything is in there now. Again, center the pivot point. So we do all these operations, and now I'm going to go ahead and bevel. We do this so we can actually understand how grouping and ungrouping works. I'm going to bevel this, use mesh, edit mesh, bevel, and reset the settings and apply. Now I'm getting a bevel that is probably good enough. If I want to change it, I can go here, 0.4. Actually, you know, I'm gonna actually go to select. Because I'm doing a bevel for everything, I should just actually select all of them again. I undid the bevel. I undid it. So I'm just gonna go ahead and do another bevel. And instead of 0.5, I'm gonna do 0.4. And I'm gonna commit to that number. So that's a good one. Okay. So I'm gonna turn off the wireframe on shaded just to see if this looks good. So that's fine. So we're good. So now this is done. I'm just gonna press Ctrl-Shift-H, go back to that. And we have at least finished all the wood paneling around. Now what we need to do next is to bring the window frames.